Hi, it's Gina Sunderland with Manitoba Chicken Producers. I am so excited to be here for this virtual chicken farm tour with one of our very own farmers, Taylen. Thank you so much for having us out to your beautiful family-owned farm here in southeastern Manitoba to share with us a little bit about your life as a chicken farmer. So I'm going to hand it over to you to share a little bit about your story.
For sure. Hello everybody, thanks for tuning in. So my name is Taylen Van. We are here on our family-owned and operated chicken farm, just like 97% of the other farms here in Manitoba. We're family-owned and operated 365 days a year. We are currently standing outside our broiler chicken barn here. It's pretty typical of a chicken barn in Manitoba, but we got a couple things going on. So behind us we have the feed bin here. And we have the feed bin and a feed line that carries the feed to the chickens. And on this side of the barn we have louvers that are allowing fresh air to go into the barn. And then on the other side we have various fans that will just allow proper circulation and air circulation inside the barn.
That's really interesting. So we are looking at a broiler chicken barn, and something that most people might not know is there's a special kind of chicken that's raised for meat. So what is a broiler chicken, Taylen?
So yeah, a broiler chicken is raised for meat. So if you're going to McDonald's and you're going to get a chicken burger or some nuggets, this is where your chicken is coming from. And so yeah.
That's really interesting too. And so chickens are raised in barns here in Manitoba and in Canada. And can you share a little bit about maybe why they're raised in barns? A lot of people think, oh, it'd be nice for chickens to be able to go outside. I mean, we're having a beautiful day here in November in Manitoba, yeah. But it's not always like that.
Yeah, for sure. So we can raise chickens here year-round. So whether it's minus 40 in wintertime or plus 30 in the summer, having chickens in barns allows us to really control the environment in there. So we want to control the temperature every day. We also want to control the humidity. And so by having them in barns, we can really control that to exactly how we want, and we can pay attention to the chicks and get it really how they want as well. Mm-hmm. A couple other things, they're not overly well at defending themselves. So if we have an eagle or something like that, we wouldn't really want the chickens to be outside. It also portrays a bit of a threat where if there's other bird species and their feces is on the ground, we wouldn't want the chickens to come into contact with that feces just in case they're carrying maybe a certain disease or something like that.
Very good point. Yeah, so everything is about protecting those chickens and also allowing us to have that healthy supply of local chicken year-round. And that would bring me to share with everyone why I am dressed like this. I am a visitor here at Taylen's beautiful family-owned farm. And because I'm a visitor, I don't want to bring any possible germs onto his farm that could be a threat to his chickens in the barn that we're going to go in and meet in a few minutes. So I am wearing a biosecurity suit to protect your farm and your livelihood because I am a visitor. So Taylen, that is really interesting. There's a couple other questions I'm hoping that I can just go through with you before we go into the barn and meet your chickens. So I'm wondering, what is your earliest memory of being a chicken farmer?
So yeah, ever since I was born, my grandparents actually had broiler chickens as well, and my auntie and uncle took over that site. And in 2016, my parents had the opportunity to buy this site, and so yeah, I've kind of been around it my whole life. But yeah, now it's kind of nice to be here with my family on this site and doing it. So.
Yeah. So what would you say is your favorite thing about being a chicken farmer?
Yeah. So it goes back to family and just being able to work with family at raising a product that we are raising for all Canadians, really. We're raising a local product here that can be bought in your local grocery store or, like I said, McDonald's, that sort of thing. And yeah, I just really enjoy being able to work with family at that.
That's excellent. That is really, really a nice story. You're working hard to work with your family and to bring that local chicken to everyone. And something that you shared with me too is that, you take farming very seriously. People think maybe it's just as simple as having chickens in a barn, but there's a lot more technology and knowledge and education that goes into this industry. And so maybe you could share a little bit about your education with everyone.
Yeah, so I went to the University of Manitoba and I graduated with my diploma in agriculture. And it was a really good program in the way that it allowed me to connect with the farm, I guess you could say, on kind of all levels. So whether it's the operation side of things and, you know, being in the barn and, you know, learning about poultry and more scientific aspects of that, but also, you know, the accounting side and the numbers side. There's just so much more to farming than just, you know, being in the field or being in the barn. And it's really important to learn all those aspects, and that program really helped with that. So.
That's excellent to hear. So yes, you are bringing so much education and knowledge back to your family-owned farm that goes into just ensuring that this business is so successful. So you've talked to a lot of people, and you met a lot of people in university, people that were in agriculture, people that weren't in agriculture, but is there one thing or maybe a couple things that you can share with people to help dispel some of the myths that are surrounding farming and chicken farming in particular?
Yeah, for sure. So a pretty common question we get asked is like, how do the chickens, the chickens are raised in approximately 35 days, and a common question is, you know, how do they grow so fast? And it's that's just a common myth of that there are, you know, steroids and hormones in the feed. And so I just would like to, I guess, dispel that. There is no hormones or steroids in the feed, even since my grandparents have been in it. It's been banned since like the 1960s, I believe. And so, yeah, that's
Yeah, so it's a really healthy product. And those chickens, we're going to see what they eat in a minute, but it's a healthy grain-based feed that's nutritionally balanced, right? You were sharing that a little bit about that with me, the type of food that the chickens eat and how it's distributed so the chickens always have access to that feed. So could you share maybe just a little bit about the nutrition that the chickens receive?
For sure. So yeah, it's a wheat-based feed. So, you know, it could be essentially coming from the field behind the barn here. But yeah, we buy our feed from a local feed company, and they have nutritionists in place where they're ensuring that the chickens get all the essential nutrients that they need. And we have 3 stages of feed. We have a starter, a grower, and a finisher. The main thing that changes is kind of the size of the feed, and then the protein level in the feed and that sort of thing. But there's nutritionists in place because they know what they're doing, and we trust them with that. So.
Well, that is just fascinating to know. There's so much science behind ensuring that you have a successful chicken farming operation, and food is a big part of it. You said the air quality, the humidity, the lighting, the water. There's just a lot to know. So I am so excited that we are now going to go into the barn to meet Taylen's 11-day-old chickens. Now, we are also using technology here to bring you this live broadcast, and I do want to share that if we do lose streaming connectivity with our Wi-Fi, we will post a live stream, a recorded live stream right after, in the event that we lose our connection. But we are going to try to take all of you with us right inside Taylen's broiler chicken barn right now. So I'm going to follow you, Taylen.
Sounds good.
So I will let you take the lead here. I'll be very respectful of your animals.
So we're just going to step into the office right now, and as you step in, I'll just bug you guys to grab a squirt of hand sanitizer just for biosecurity purposes.
All right.
Okay, so yeah, we are inside the barn office now. Also a bit of a buffer zone, so we're still wearing our streetwear, that sort of thing. We're going to be stepping into the barn into biosecured boots and booties. But before we do that, I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the controllers we have and some of the things that we do. So when we come into the barn here, we have our water coming in from our pressure, or our main pressure system, and then we have a pressure reducer in the water line. So once the water gets to the water lines, it's just reduced in pressure. We have a controller here with a curve. So every day we can have this controller automatically turn down the temperature for us in the barn. So this just ensures that the chickens are comfortable from day 1 till the day they leave. And then it also helps with controlling the humidity as well. And then we also have this lighting program here, and that just ensures chickens have the same amount of light every day, that sort of thing. Then just ensures that they're comfortable, I guess. And then a few safety things like a fire extinguisher and yeah.
Yeah, so there's so much technology involved in successful chicken farming, and it makes sure that these chickens have a perfect summer day every day with the right amount of light, the right amount of darkness, temperature, humidity, sounds great. So I'm looking forward now to following you inside the barn to meet your 11-day-old chickens, Taylen.
Yeah, so I'm gonna leave my boots here. Just try to move slowly and fairly quietly if you can. Just some unfamiliar faces, so.
And I've taken my outdoor booties off, and I have another pair that I'm only going to wear inside the barn, again to protect Taylen's flock of chickens. Okay, I'm gonna step in quietly, Taylen. It is a really nice temperature in here. It feels like a perfect summer day.
Yeah. Yeah, these are broiler chickens. As you can see, the barn is fairly spacious. There's lots of room for them to walk around. They're essentially free-run chickens. They can do as they please. They can eat the food, the fresh food, drink the water. One thing I will point out as well is that these are both male and female chickens. So the males are not wasted or nothing like that. We have both roosters and hens in this chicken barn. And that's also kind of a common myth that we get.
Right, and so everyone can see, here we are inside your chicken barn. Chickens are never raised in cages. So chickens raised for me are never raised in cages. And they have lots of space to roam freely. They look like they're very content and they're very happy. So I think when we were talking earlier, you told me one of your favorite parts of chicken farming is just having the opportunity to come into the barn and to check the chickens. And so every day you walk this barn several times a day.
Yep.
And what are the things that you look for as a chicken farming expert, Taylen? What do you look for in your birds?
So yeah, we walk the barns multiple times a day just to check up on the birds. We want to make sure that the water is always there. It's always at a good pressure. They're drinking from little water nipples, so we don't want it to splash them or do something like that. So just ensure the water pressure is there. As well as the feed, we want the feed to constantly be coming into the barn, which means that they would be eating. But we're also looking for just the way that they're sitting in the barn. So they're fairly spread out, which would tell me that they're pretty comfortable. But if they would start to group together and do something like that, it would just mean that it's a little bit cool in here and that we need to increase the heat a little bit. So.
Right, and another thing you mentioned is that if you noticed a lot of them were near the outside wall, then it might mean that they're too warm, is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, if you have a lot of chickens along the outside wall, I mean now we kind of came in here, they're a little bit uneasy with us, so there are some there, but typically when we come in here, it's very obvious if there's a lot of them on the outside wall, it would mean that it's too hot. So.
Yeah, so they're sensitive to visitors. They know that they're being watched and there's visitors in the barn. So Taylen, we're just going to see if maybe we can take a look here. You mentioned about the water lines and the feed pans, and people probably never been inside a chicken barn or seen the technology that ensures that these chickens always have access to plenty of fresh water and feed. So maybe you could just point that out.
Yeah, so these lines here are water lines. There's multiple water nipples going all the way down the barn, so there's always access for every chicken, essentially. The next row over is our feed line. So this hopper here holds the feed for the line, and at the other end there's a sensor. So once that sensor goes off, the whole line will turn on, and then it'll actually fill the line up. And yeah, that just ensures that there's always feed in the lines for all the chickens, and as you can see, there's many feed pans as well, so there's always space for all the chickens to have feed.
And they're enjoying that feed. So what does that feed look like?
Yeah, so right now we're in a grower feed. Give you a bit of a look here. So it's pretty much pellets that have been crushed down a little bit just to make it a bit more easier for the chicks to eat, because they are fairly young right now. As they get older, you'll see full pellets in this feed. So
that's fascinating. So that's that grain-based feed, and it's fortified with protein and all the vitamins and minerals that are essential for life. Just like all of us need a healthy diet to grow well, so do chickens. Well, thank you very much, Taylen, for this wonderful tour. You are just such a wealth of knowledge and information. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I just wanted to point out before we go here, just if anybody tuning in has any questions about the broiler industry or any industry for that matter, just that you go to the source and you go to the people that are working in it day to day. You know, we're being transparent here. We're bringing you right into the barn, and so if you have any questions or comments, just feel free to send them to Gina here, and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Taylen. I'd be happy to collect those questions and comments and share them with you, and we'll continue this conversation. Thank you to everyone for tuning in, for your interest, and a huge thank you to you, Taylen, and your family for bringing us here onto your family-owned farm for this fantastic educational tour. Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, take care, everyone. Thanks.